Okay, Cristiano, let's get into it. So, welcome to Marketing IQ Live. So, this is a session that we have every couple of weeks where Cristiano and I discuss problems that we see coming up for our B2B clients, specifically for senior marketing leaders, and things that we see consistently coming up, things where we have found solutions to problems that we think might be useful. So we just try to share those different concepts. So today session, it's about not being invisible where it counts in B2B and why your competitors might be showing up in AI search and you don't. So before we go anywhere else, Cristiano, what do we actually mean by AI search and what's changed about the way people find companies in 2026?
That is a good question. And I think it's fair to say that over the last 6 to 12 months, a lot of new concepts have been implemented in digital marketing. And the reason behind that is because, and we spoke about this in some of our previous sessions as well, AI has fundamentally changed the way people do research, people do search, people find companies, people find information, right? When we say AI search, we mean those type of searches where any individual goes to a AI agent or any AI tool and do research there. So instead of them going in Google or Bing or any other search engine, they interact with AI tools to try and get answers to their questions, to try and find information, which means AI is doing the research and is doing the search for you and will provide you with recommendations, results, data. It was very difficult and time consuming to find the right answers to some of your questions and to find data. Now you can get answers and have a whole research done in a matter of minutes, right? So when we say AI search, we're talking about individuals that interact with AI to help them do research, find companies, find products, find services, or find answers to any questions they might have.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is from speaking to a lot of marketing leaders. What that means for them specifically now is the CEO, someone on the exec board, has been using ChatGPT and Claude. We've put in our company name or something around the company, and we're seeing all our competitors, and we're not there. That is specifically where this is getting on people's radar, right? It's like someone senior is using these tools. They can't find you or your company, but their competitors are coming up. And now all of a sudden there is a rocket under this that it has to be done. It used to be why we're not appearing at the top of Google. Now it's why we're not appearing in one of the LLMs.
Correct. And in fairness, it is a valid question. And you should be asking this question yourself, because if your competitors are appearing on when you do AI searches, when you have conversations with AI and your company is not, your products or services are not being mentioned at all, means there's probably something wrong with your strategy and you need to do something about it, right? There's also an element of monitoring the right terms and the right questions, right? And this is, it's funny because we used to have similar challenges during what we call traditional SEO, where a senior board member or a CEO, you just mentioned, right? C-suite individual in a company would use a obscure keyword and say, we're not ranking for this keyword, when in fact there's zero volume on that keyword, there's zero value for you to be ranking, it's too generic, it's not even part of the SEO strategy. So something similar is happening now with AI overviews and citations. So it's very important as well for everyone in the company to be aligned with the actual terms, queries, questions that the company wants to be featured in AI overviews or wants to get citations for. We had a call with a client of ours a couple of weeks ago, and we share the terms and questions that we monitor on a weekly basis, on a daily basis for some clients. And those are the ones that we try and get more citations from, get more traffic from AI tools and AI search, right? And they came back with a bunch of other questions. Well, we'd like to also ensure we monitor all of these because this is what our board wants. So having that, ensuring that everybody is on the same page and we have the same objectives is crucial here. When you look at those questions, we were like, okay, this is all nice and well, but this and that, this is top of the funnel, and the strategy is to focus on queries and terms that are more commercial, so you can actually get some leads from it. So we can absolutely pivot, but what's the priority here, right? Because of course everybody has different priorities, and everything is urgent, and you want to feature on every single question and get as many citations as possible, but you need to have a focus there as well. So number one is, what is your objective? And based on your objective, you need to determine which queries and questions you want to be featured on when it comes down to AI search, and then have a proper plan on that and aligned with the rest of the company as well. But as I said, it's a valid question. You just need to have a strategy behind it.
So a lot of the seniors watching this are getting pressure from people using AI and these different tools looking for the platforms. Traffic is down for a lot of people we're dealing with. CPCs are through the roof at the moment. And board is saying like nothing has really changed from a what we're doing perspective, but we're just seeing this drop in performance everywhere. Like walk through what is actually happening, like why those things are happening.
Okay, there are two main factors here, and we need to remember that there is an element of organic or natural traffic that has been dropping, but also the paid traffic, paid search, or paid media in general, right? We have seen several stats in the last 12 months that say that CTR has dropped by 58 to 62%, depending on industries. And therefore, if you used to get a certain amount of traffic for a keyword or a query, you probably have 50 or 60% fewer clicks now. But the number of companies going after that query on traditional paid search or organic paid search, or organic search, remains the same or has grown, right? So that statistic affects both paid and organic. There's definitely fewer clicks available from both paid and organic, and the same number of competitors going after those queries. There was a statistic that was shared from a research done by Search Engine, I think a couple of weeks ago, that did a deep analysis on what was actually happening. And again, it's not that all the traffic is dropping and we're seeing drop in CTR for absolutely everything. There's a changing behavior, which we already knew about, but now there's a research with a deep study on it that confirms it. The queries that are seeing a drop in CTR are basically changing to more long tail types of queries. We already knew that individuals are now having conversations with AI instead of doing search on one or two queries. So they use more than 4 in most cases, right? And you can find all the answers when you ask that question. So the traffic is shifting to those type of queries. But of course, there's a portion of that traffic that will remain on AI tools, right? So they're not going to go to Google or Bing. So a lot of that traffic is going to come from AI searches, basically. So we saw a drop in CTR. We know that there's a shift and people are searching for other types of queries, which are growing, as a matter of fact. So those queries used to get very little traffic. Now they get a lot more traffic. So the longer the search query, the more likely for you to be able to capture that traffic. Excuse me. Which means you need to change the way you target your audience as well. But a lot of that traffic comes from AI. So you're not going to see anything in your analytics. It's probably going to be referral traffic. So there's a need for you to adapt. And of course, if you lost that traffic from paid search or organic search, and you do not have a strong strategy to compensate for that on AI search, then that means you're losing that traffic altogether. Then you're going to
Mhm.
see diminishing returns, and it's going to take a long time for you to be able to recapture, reposition yourself and start capturing that traffic again.
Mhm.
So if when you look at your analytics, you see a drop in performance from paid and search, and you don't see additional traffic coming from referrals or directs, and your whole performance is dropping, that means you have a serious problem and you need to consider a proper audit to understand your what we call AI readiness on both search and organic. However, if you see on paid and organic search a drop in traffic, but that's being compensated by direct traffic and referrals, and you're not going to get the same amount of traffic, but you should get a similar amount of leads or sales, then that means your traffic is just coming from a different source. An audit will start help answering some of those questions.
Does that imply then that if traffic, AI summaries are a big thing, right? That there's no need to click. So what you're implying there is even if traffic does drop slightly, and you get more conversions, the more commercial conversions would still come through your site somehow to engage. Those maybe top of funnel are the ones that wouldn't be coming to the site because there'd be more just research kind of search that they would just get it from the summary. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. There's a couple of elements here. So what I just described applies to demand capture, which is basically
Hmm.
bottom of funnel tactics. Whenever people did paid search in the past, and when we say in the past, we're talking 3-6 months ago, it's not really that long ago, right? They were focusing on demand capture, bottom of the funnel. They got commercial keywords, they were capturing that traffic, they're expecting either a sale or lead right away. That has changed. If you want to capture traffic from AI search and traffic that converts, you need to think full funnel now,
Hmm.
which means a lot of educational content. You need to establish yourself as an expert, as a thought leader on particular topics. You need to own spaces. When I say spaces, we're talking about topical clusters, have all the answers to specific questions that your audience is looking for. We need to remember AI will analyze your entire digital footprint, not just a landing page, not just that paid ad, not just one article. It will look at your whole website, the entities on that website. It will have a look at your social media presence, and that would include Reddit as an example, as one social media as well. It will check the authoritativeness of the content that you publish. Who is behind it? Is it a PhD that wrote that article, or is it a copywriter that has no credentials whatsoever? All these elements play a massive part into getting AI to feature you, cite you or your company or your services rather than your competitors. So you need to think full funnel, and you need to establish yourself as an authority on whichever topic of product or service that you sell, and ensure that you are consistent with the messaging across multiple channels. Because
Hmm.
now you need to think full funnel, as I said, and that educational piece, people will start asking questions to AI. You want to make sure that you show up on those answers as well, because that's the brand awareness element of things, right? That's how
Hmm.
brand awareness is mostly happening these days. And
Hmm.
we're talking specifically about search here, paid or organic, of course, but it influences other channels too.
Yeah. And something I've heard you say a few times in presentations that bottom of funnel is pretty much dead now, and I think that's particularly pertinent in B2B, right? Because we used to have demand generation and demand capture, which was just mopping up essentially people already searching. I think where that becomes a problem, I think I see a lot of budgets getting cut as well at the moment, and typically in the past it was kind of the brand kind of stuff that would get cut, right? Because it was the bottom of funnel that was compensating for it. So how do B2B marketers deal with this now when you're trying to present a full funnel strategy? What budgets are still probably getting cut at some point, but you're still having to do that, let's call it top of funnel if we're old school language 6 months ago. but now it's this full funnel mentality because there's the reality of the new world, but there's still the hangover of how the world used to be, right? We're in that limbo state.
The two elements here. I would like to touch on the paid side of things first. Focusing on bottom of funnel demand acquisition, you could get away with that in the past. If you don't focus on full funnel now, is fatal, even for paid activities, right? Last year, we were fortunate to participate in a summit from Google at Google's headquarters in London, which was called the Future of Search, and they were explaining how things are changing. This was August last year, and what they expected the future to look like. And they said exactly what we're seeing happening now, right? Which is a lot less traffic, CTRs are dropping, shifting behavior. People will do more research before they make a decision because information is a commodity now. And then last month, during the 2026 Google I/O, amongst many announcements, Google announced what they call the biggest change in the search box ever since Google exists as a company, right? We just need to keep in mind that Google is no longer just a search engine. Google is now an AI assistant. You can do a lot more than just do search. I've been using it a lot, as a matter of fact. You can ask it to monitor prices for you. You can ask to book hotels, check flight prices. If you're looking at a specific pair of shoes and they don't have your size, it can let you know when it's available again. So you can do a lot more. And you can do that on your browser without having to download absolutely anything. They will now insert ads inside AI overviews, which is something they told us that they were going to do last year. They started doing as a beta in August and September last year. And now that's a reality. There are a few things that we know. Number one, they will move away from keyword topics specifically, and they will be more interested in contextualization, what you're searching for, and try to predict your needs, right? I think we used a couple of examples in the past, being if you're doing a research online and you're searching for airlines that accept pets, Google will instantly presume that you're doing this for the first time. It will provide you with information you need, but it will also show you some ads of some pet carriers because that's probably something you're going to need. So that's the contextualization, trying to predict your next move and show you specific ads based on that. The challenge with that is for you to be featured on ads inside AI overviews, it's not just about bidding anymore. You can bid as high as you want. If you don't have a great landing page experience, if your website is slow, if your ads don't have great images, if the message in your ads is not aligned with your website and your landing page, you're not going to be eligible. So it's no longer about just bidding and you're going to get that traffic. Excuse me. So what that means is that you need to think about, number one, influencing that decision maker when they are doing the research, and perhaps there's one of your ads. You need to be at the right level of the funnel for that. You need to educate them first. If you go to a landing page with a title, a small description, and a form, you're probably not going to get that lead anymore. So you need to provide a lot more information. You need to use schemas. The technicals have to be excellent. And Google wants to ensure that the user experience is great and there's more information on the website, not just the bottom of funnel bit, but if you're an expert, if you're selling a service, for example, is this company or website worth recommending? So the whole full funnel experience becomes super important here. Content becomes more important than ever, but top and middle of the funnel content specifically. Having one single blog post about a topic that's no longer going to help you with anything. You need to, as I said earlier, own topics, spaces, questions and answers. You need to prepare your website and have specific content hubs. You need to be known for having absolutely all the answers to any questions your target audience might have from top to bottom of the funnel once again. And that is going to have positive impact in all things organic search. And to be honest, with any other channels, right? Because if you are creating a experience that includes a full funnel experience from images to content to absolutely everything, then you can expect to get better conversions from other channels as well, because the objective is to educate your target audience, to make them aware of your products and services, build that authority, build that trust. And you can only do that with authoritative content. And then you're going to start getting those conversions, perhaps with less traffic than before, but the traffic should be more qualified. I think that's the main change there. So companies that used to try and rank for specific keywords, they now need to think of a broader spectrum, think more top of the funnel, which other topics our audience is interested in. We need to write something about that. So content and context become more important than ever in the context of a multi-channel full funnel strategy as well, because the channels need to work together now.
I see this come up a lot on LinkedIn. I'm asked this question in various ways, like, how is what you've described different to really good SEO? Like to surfacing within AI and stuff like that. It just sounds like gold standard SEO. Like, what might people be missing, if anything?
And it is. The audits that we run for companies and our own clients that were following SEO best practices, focusing on what Google has been saying for years, you need to ensure your EAT, E-E-A-T, is optimal, and then you will rank for certain keywords and you get more traffic. If you were just following that, and if you were observing best practices on EAT, expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, you're building every single element from a solid foundation, which is exactly what AI wants. And it does not mean just content and just SEO. It does include some of the elements that I mentioned. You need to have experts writing content. You need to have the same message across all your channels, social media. You need to be featured on external publications, industry-specific websites, and so on and so forth. So there's no difference. If you do the best practices really, really well, chances are you're doing great in this AI era, and you probably saw a lift in your traffic, and you're probably getting more conversions.
So this question is in line with this, but slightly different. Like, as a marketing leader that's reporting to the board, and you're getting pressure off the CFO, who the CFO, they want to fund what's attributable, right? They want to put money in things that they can measure. And what we're saying here is a lot of the work that's happening now is in invisible places. Like, how do we have that conversation as marketing leaders with people that just aren't as in the weeds about what all this means?
It's a good question, and it's a tricky one, because it requires C-suite level individuals such as the CFO to understand some new concepts about what's happening in the world and potentially focus a little bit more in different KPIs, right? That does not mean that the old KPIs that we used are no longer important. You still need to have a look at your ROI. You still want to know how certain campaigns are performing, what's the return on investment there, but you need to incorporate more subjective KPIs into your mix. And you might not get the exact numbers there, but it will give them a good indication so you can actually tell a story. Those would be AI citations. That's the number one. Oh, but we're not getting any conversions. Not yet, but they will come. Depends on the lead time, depends on a lot of other factors, right? So AI citations is a must. If AI is citing you, you're going to start getting more of the traffic, and you will convert as well, right? And you're going to beat your competitors too. You need to stop looking at ROI from individual campaigns or channels. You need to look at things from a higher level. You need to combine all your digital marketing initiatives and understand what's the combined ROI is. And then if 100%. You can improve the attribution model, that's also quite important, because the example we always use, right? Someone go on LinkedIn, they see a post from us, they now remember you and your brand probably. Then they're watching a video, you're being retargeted, they will see that video, they might click, okay, fantastic, but they didn't buy anything. A few weeks later, oh, what was that topic about? And they go and do an organic search, they find you, they read an article, that's okay, and then they have a problem that you can solve. What was the name of that company? I read X, Y, and Z. They go to ChatGPT and do that research. And then they find you on ChatGPT. Okay, this was the company. Who are the competitors? Okay, I already know them. The competitors does the exact same thing as they do. There are no differentiators. The price is the same, but I already know these guys. I've seen them before. I read some articles. I don't trust them fully yet, but definitely better than the other company that I have never heard of before, right? So that's the whole top of the funnel working in your favor. And then they will click and they will go to your website and then they convert, they ask for a demo. So when you see all of that, you probably did not see everything that happened before that conversion. And that's why it's important for companies to polish or improve their attribution models to try and detect every single touch and find correlations. Because if you run paid brand awareness campaigns, you want to know how many individuals that have seen our ads have converted as opposed to individuals that have not seen our ads. Is it more expensive? Is it more, the conversion rates are higher when someone has seen our ads? And more often than not, the answer will be yes. So when you do the full funnel correlation, you will probably see in most cases that individuals that have been exposed to brand awareness campaigns or have been educated before, they convert better and is actually cheaper. So looking at one channel or one campaign in isolation is not going to tell the full story anymore. So it's quite important to incorporate that. And as you do more brand awareness, it's also important to keep a very close eye on brand citations. And you can do that on searches or even ChatGPT. We used to get, I don't know, 100 visitors per month from people searching from our brand. Now we're getting 300. That means your brand is becoming stronger. Your brand awareness activities are actually providing interesting results. So you need to add a few additional metrics, and then you're going to be able to tell a good story. And then you're going to have a conversation with your CFO and tell him, this is actually working, so we should do more of this or that or whatever it is.
That's a really good point, right? Considering we are a incredibly commercial agency, very data driven, always trying to get as much measurement in as possible, you can only measure what you can measure. Like you can't measure the unmeasurable, right? Attribution tools are great at attributing the things that are attributable. But I think exactly as you say, to zoom out and look at total budget during this period and revenue returned over a period of time, whatever the length of your buying cycle is, that's more like it, right? So I think trying to put every cent to a revenue amount is just simply not the world we live in. But, right, quarter over quarter, quarter over every 2 quarters, yeah, you need to start to see that revenue is coming in, right, at some point. And I think that is a question. It's not to say to the CFO that, hey, we don't measure this. It's just that this is a piece of the puzzle. And when you're looking at you to get your ROI on what you want to fund, we need you to step a level back and trust that what we're doing is part of the modern marketing path.
Exactly, precisely right.
Brilliant. All right, Cristiano, we've kind of come to the end of our time for this, but I would like to put it out to see if anybody has any questions. Okay. A question here, but we've kind of answered this. Like, how do we show up in ChatGPT or Claude, and specifically versus Google? We've kind of touched on this, right? Yeah.
We did, and there are a few elements there. So when we do audits for our clients, perhaps you have great content already, but by just restructuring that content, let me go back one step. If you have great content that is already ranking well organically, this is content that traditionally has done well for you. You are in position 1, 2, 3, or first page of Google, but now you're not seeing AI utilizing that content, right? It is great. You're ticking all the boxes. So what's going on? We usually look at the technicals. AI requires something slightly different to be able to interpret your pages and your website. Number one, schemas become super, super important, right? So You need to run a technical analysis on your whole website and understand if you have all schemas properly installed and configured. Sometimes by restructuring a little bit, the exact same piece of content, you don't make changes in your content, but you just restructure it a little bit, also helps. If you have comparisons between your product and other solutions in bullet points, put it in tables. That's one tip right there. AI loves that. Also, having a 1 or 2 paragraphs, 250 to 500 characters at the top of your page, summarizing the whole page, also helps, because AI is not like Google. Google will try and insist in crawling in and understanding what your website is about. AI is going to try, and if something is wrong, doesn't have the schemas, the technicals are not fantastic, it's going to give up, because it requires a lot of resources, financial resources, to recrawl websites constantly. So you need to ensure you are allowing AI to really understand what your website is about. So if you already have great content, by making a few tweaks here and there in the technicals, and content might actually improve your performance. If you were not ranking well before, then you need to probably rethink of your strategy, and you need to address all these elements that we mentioned on the call. Full funnel, you need to own spaces, and there's a lot of work ahead of you, and we recommend you to start doing that right away. Otherwise, your competitors will do it, and it's going to be very, very hard for you to catch up with them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Cristiano. I'm sure we're going to be tackling this subject from 10 other angles in the coming weeks, because this is the AI is not coming. The modern era is not on its way. We're in it, right? And we're adapting, and it's happening as we speak.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Cristiano.
Thank you very much.